What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we're taking a look at something that's eventually going to affect everybody, whether it happens in 5 years, 10 years, or even sooner. And I'm talking about rust. Now, the thing with rust is that it does not care what kind of vehicle it is, how much money you've put into it, or even how old it is. There's so many different variables. And in this video, we're gonna be taking a look at how to prevent rust, how to fix it if it does start occurring on your Jeep, and what I like to do to kind of prevent it and fix it. Let's get started. So I didn't actually plan on making this video, but I also never planned on finding too much rust under the Jeep either. It's funny how it happens. So you guys have known that we've been a little bit busy here. We've got a lot of projects happening on the JT. It's almost done. We're doing the axle swap, not axle swap, but axle build video series. Cassie has been doing the JK to LJ or JK to TJ axle swap, and she's been wrapping up the rear. So the rear axle's done. We pulled the old axle out, and we found a good amount of rust underneath that needed to be addressed ASAP. So I figured, hey, this is a great time to make a video on how to fix rust and just talk all about it. So real quick, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we're under here, and you can definitely see on the body itself, there's a good amount of rust in certain sections. Now, it's not horrible, but this needs to be addressed ASAP. So in this video, we're gonna be fixing that. I'm also gonna show you some tips and tricks to kind of prevent that from happening to your Jeep. Now, there's so many different types of rust that can develop. You can get frame rust, you can get rust that's completely rotting out the Jeep where it's like unrepairable. And that's not kind of what we're doing in this video. We're just kind of tackling a little bit like the pre-stages of that and how to avoid it getting too bad. So before we go too far in depth, I want to do a little giveaway for you guys. So a while back, I gave away this flashlight to Connor Rice. How I've been doing my giveaways lately is, you know, if you left a comment on the previous video, I randomly selected a winner and then announced it in the next video. So it's been like over a month since it said Connor Rice won it. He never contacted me, so we're running it again. If you left a comment on the, which video was that? The Trust video where we did on the Gladiator, you were entered, and the new winner is Dan Artentano. So Dan, go down to the comments, leave your email address, and then shoot me an email to jkgearandgadgets@gmail.com. You got a new flashlight. So I guess the best way to kind of start this is to talk about how to prevent rust. So suppose you just bought a brand new Jeep, or maybe you have one that's not too old and neither of these have any rust on there, at least nothing severe. Prevention is the #1 key, and it's a lot easier than responding to rust. So the easiest way to do rust prevention is a few ways. You can get all kinds of cool stuff for it, or you can just take care of your Jeep. After a wheeling trip, after you're really muddy, wash that mud off ASAP. Mud collects in the frame, collects in body panels, and mud holds moisture. Moisture leads to rust. So I know it's really cool to run around with a really muddy Jeep. It looks awesome, but the quicker you can get mud off, the better it's gonna be for your frame and your body to prevent rust. Another thing is just to keep washing it regularly. Now, a big thing that most people don't do when they wash their Jeep is address the underside, because that is pretty difficult. One thing I do like to use in regards to when I'm pressure washing is this undercarriage washer. This thing has wheels, and as you can tell, if you really want to pressure wash the underside, it has the attachment right here for our nozzle, and we just roll this under. So it does pressure wash and clean the underside of our Jeep. Now, there's a lot of other factors. It depends where you live. Suppose you're up in the northeastern states where they salt the roads heavily. Your Jeep is going to want to rust out a lot quicker just to do all that salt, all that grime they put on the roads during the winter time. So what can you do? Sure, you could wash your Jeep weekly, but that's gonna be a little ridiculous. There are some other tricks to help preventing rust, and that's what I'm about to show you. So here we have, not the flashlight, that is not gonna help with rust, but it will help you see it. So 3 items that are really gonna help, of course, is paint, help protect those unfinished surfaces. WD-40 is gonna be a very cheap option, and then fluid film. Fluid film is awesome. I'm pretty new to this stuff. I got it up at Off-Road Elements when we were in Massachusetts, because that's one of those states where they encounter a lot of rust. And what this is, it's a spray-on like protection coating. It's a wax, it's like a paraffin lanolin. It's a lanolin-based wax. This stuff stinks horribly. But what you do is spray your frame down with this every once in a while. This thing is supposed to last pretty long, at least 6 months. So what you do is just pop the cap, spray the frame down, and it leaves a nice coating that's gonna prevent your frame from rusting. It has a protective base on there, and it does work pretty good. I hit it on the JT. You can kind of tell. I mean, I'll wipe it off. Yeah, leaves that nasty film, but it stays on there very long. This stuff is kind of expensive, so if you're trying to, keep your Jeep clean on a budget, a bottle of WD-40 is gonna do the job. It just doesn't last as long. If you do go with the WD-40 route, get the big jugs that you find online or at Home Depot and just put it into a refillable spray nozzle. So stuff like that is gonna help you kind of prevent rust from accumulating on your frame and your body. But what can you do once it starts happening? That's what we're doing in this video. Let's get started. So here we are with the subject vehicle, a 2005 Jeep LJ. This thing is 15 years old. So signs of rust like this isn't too bad, but if we left it like this, in a few years, these are gonna be completely rotted out. So it's better to catch it when it's early. There's a few ways to fix rust like this. The best way is to grind all this down or sand it down to bare metal and then repaint it. The issue with that is that it's really hard to get in some of these tight spots and corners and grind it down to bare metal. So there is a few other options. As you can tell, I've kind of already cleaned this up a little bit. Most Jeeps are gonna be covered with road grime, oil, all types of stuff under here. So the first thing we have to do is really clean the undercarriage so we can see where the actual rust is and it's not just road grime built up. So the plan of attack for this section is to use some rust reformer. So let's go check out what we have on the front of the Jeep and how we're gonna fix all of this in this video. So here's what we're gonna be using. This stuff is not too expensive. There's a lot of different ways to fix rust, guys. A lot of people use POR 15. There's hundreds of things on the market that you can use. In my mind, this is some of the cheaper stuff and it does come out with a very good outcome. So we have our wire wheel for knocking off the loose rust, some rust reformer right here, some undercoating, acetone, a wire brush, rust dissolver, and some degreaser and rags. So like I just mentioned, there's a few ways to do this. The best way with, the most desired outcome is going to, find the spot with rust, grab a grinder or wire wheel and remove the rust completely until it's down to bare metal. And then at that point, we would prime and paint it and then hit it with some undercoating. But if you're doing spots like this, like on mine, you're not gonna have access to really clean it all the way down to bare metal. That's where this rust reformer comes into play. So what this does is you clean it up, you spray this on, and it kind of, it changes that rust right here. Instantly bonds with rust and reforms it to a non-rusting paintable surface. So the design behind this is applications just like this. We're gonna clean it up, spray this on, and it's gonna transfer that rust and kind of fix it into a good metal. So that's gonna be awesome. Now, after we spray that, we're gonna hit it with undercoating and then probably another top layer of paint to fully protect that bottom. Now, a big mistake that a lot of people make is they'll find rust, they'll clean it up a little bit, not too much, and just spray it with paint. It might look like it fixed it. It's gonna prevent any other rust from happening in that same spot, but it does not fix that spot that you just sprayed over. In fact, rust is still building up inside of there and it's spreading underneath the paint. So definitely do not do that. Anytime you're working on rust repairs, preparation is going to be the key. If you want the easiest route, this is gonna be it. If you want the harder route, grind it all down and do a full, fresh paint job. So we're gonna go through with the brush, knock off all the loose rust, and then come back and start prepping it. With all the loose rust knocked off, we're gonna grab some rags and our acetone and clean up the area that we just wiped down. There's still gonna be some residue from oil and really gotta make sure this is ready to get painted. This project isn't too expensive. I think the rust reformer is about $6 a can. The undercoating's about 10. And then other than that, there's nothing crazy to it. So I will leave all these products in the video description so you can go check them out. Maybe the prices are cheaper online on Amazon. I don't know. So while that alcohol dries a little bit, I'm gonna go under there once it's dry and start spraying this rust reformer. We're not gonna go crazy with this stuff. We're not gonna spray the entire section because the spots without rust, it's gonna take a lot longer to dry. And plus, it's not really designed to be paint. It's more of a rust reformer, exactly what the name says. So let's keep this project going. But hopefully by now you guys can tell that, even a small amount of rust needs to be fixed before it turns into a much bigger problem. Now that we have that rust reformer applied, it's all sprayed on, all we have to do is wait. The longer you can let this sit, the better it's gonna do. Give it time to work its magic, but sadly, we have Jeep projects we have to do. We're under a big time crunch. There's a lot I haven't told you guys. We are moving, so we'll talk about that in another video. There's a lot to tell you guys, but we are moving, so the main goal is just to finish up all these Jeep projects. And the #1 project right now is finishing the axle swap. So you're supposed to wait 24 hours. It's been about an hour, and it is definitely dry to the touch. So the next step would be to apply some undercoating. This stuff I got at Walmart, very cheap. And the main, like, the goal for this is just to seal up everything that we just applied, whether it's, you know, a rust reformer, you know, a rust dissolver, or just paint. We want to apply this over that so it protects it over time. This is what it says: corrosion and rust resistance, and it's a rubberized texture. Like I mentioned earlier, it's gonna kind of quiet it down. But this stuff is awesome. The only bad thing about applying this is that it does like to run. It's a very, you know, it's like a rubberized coating. So when you're spraying it on vertical surfaces or over like the horizontals, not horizontals, up and, yeah. Hey, oh, you came out just at the right time.
What are we doing?
I'm fixing your Jeep. I'm fixing your Jeep. All that rust.
Doesn't look fixed yet.
Not yet. I'm trying to make a video. It's just a lot of me rambling and talking. But I got lost. Up and down, vertical surfaces, and overhead. We'll just say overhead surfaces. This stuff does like to run, so definitely spray it like pretty far back, more than your average spray paint, like at least a foot, so it can really disperse, and then just do a few layers of that. So we're probably gonna hang out, do some more Jeep axle upgrades, and you know, prep for that to get in. All that's gonna be on Cassie's channel, but we'll come back in a little bit. We'll undercoat the bottom, and I'll show you guys a before and after. And just like that, we are done fixing that rusty section on the LJ, which is awesome. So now I'm gonna show you guys what this fluid film does. You know, it's nice to fix this, but in the future, to prevent it from happening again, is when we're really gonna wanna coat the underside with WD-40 or something like fluid film. So let's go ahead and test it out here on the front bumper area, or the front part of the frame that's missing the bumper. So we'll do a little before and after, got that side covered. This stuff stinks really, really bad. So try not to get it on your hands as much as possible. So here you can see the difference. This one is treated with the fluid film. This one is left bare. So right off the bat, when you first spray it, it's definitely pretty liquidy, but it kind of dries into more of a waxy paste, and that wax is what helps prevent rust. So you guys can see the difference. Plus, this actually looks really, really good. It makes the frame kind of look brand new. So that is definitely the best way to prevent rust, and it's kind of a maintenance item, I'd say, for Jeeps that are gonna see all types of off-roading. The only downside to using WD-40 or fluid film is that when we go off-roading, if it's really dusty out, it's gonna stick to it like crazy. Now, fluid film, you can pressure wash it. You can still wash your Jeep. It's not gonna wash off. It's gonna kind of resist getting removed from the frame, which is awesome. You know, it would suck to spend 40 bucks spraying down your entire Jeep with fluid film, go pressure wash it, and all of it come off. So it's kind of designed to handle that abuse. So depending on where you live, you know, if you're out on the West Coast, you might not need to fluid film your Jeep. If you live up in Massachusetts or New York, definitely something you want to do pretty often. Now this stuff, it lasts about 6 months, so definitely do it before the winter time. It's going to protect it from rust, and it's going to do a lot of other great things. So I know this wasn't the most exciting video. You're not, you know, we're not out adventuring. We're not wheeling the Jeeps. We're not installing really cool mods, and there's been a lot of that lately, and it kind of sucks. I know a lot of you guys are kind of getting burnt out on videos like this and videos of the JT. You know, oh, we're modifying stuff, we're doing things, we're not out using it, but we can't. Yeah, I'm not even allowed to leave the city right now due to the you know, coronavirus, so I'm stuck here. But that's a great thing because we're able to get some really cool projects done. We're able to catch up on repairing some rust on the LJ, and that's something I would recommend to you guys to be doing during this downtime. If you do have any downtime, catch up with those projects. definitely tackle any rust before it becomes a big issue. And as you can tell, it's really not hard. It takes a couple hours of your time and can honestly help prolong the life of your Jeep. We put so much money into these things. We spend so much time. Don't let it rust away and just be another Jeep in the junkyard. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching. Please leave the video a thumbs up. Go down to the comments and let me know what you've used in the past, you know, to protect your Jeep from rust and to handle it. I'll see you guys later.